2026 is going to be a fundamental year in determining the DCU's future. The projects released so far, Creature Commandos, Superman, and Peacemaker Season 2 have all been curated by James Gunn in some way. Creature Commandos was more of an appetizer, while Superman and Peacemaker got into the meat and potatoes of world building and set the stage for some of the key players in the overarching narrative. Every project slated for 2026 is set to take the DCU into different directions and offer tones that differ from one another, from a space adventure like Supergirl to an R-rated body horror flick like Clayface. Arguably the most important project of them all is Lanterns, a series set to premiere on HBO Max centered on Hal Jordan and John Stewart. The show is said to be of major significance for the overall DCU, with John and Hal solving a murder mystery in Nebraska that reveals an ancient horror on Earth. If for whatever reason I had to choose which DCU project is great while the others are just subpar or bad, which I'm hoping isn't the case and wish for all three to be great, I'm probably choosing Lanterns. For one, it's introducing a whole new side of world building with the galactic side of the universe and the Green Lantern Corps. We only got a taste of what a Green Lantern could look like in the DCU via Guy Gardner and Superman, but Lanterns is supposed to go balls deep into that whole mythology.
What?
Something that hasn't been really explored upon in live action in any memorable way. The only live-action theatrical Hal Jordan adaptation is the 2011 movie starring Ryan Reynolds, and well, I don't think I need to go in depth on how it wasn't received well. It's of the utmost importance that DC Studios gives us a proper rendition of the character, since the casual audience probably either associates Hal with the Ryan Reynolds movie, or with him being a jobber thanks to that one clip from Justice League War.
Stand back and peep the light show. Green Lantern's got this! Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga! Fight back! Fight back!
That's not to say Hal Jordan has never been adapted properly in any medium. A few good depictions that come to mind include Green Lantern the Animated Series, Green Lantern First Flight, and Emerald Knights. But those projects don't get as much recognition in general conversation when compared to a show like Justice League Unlimited, which had John Stewart as a founding member of the team. Lanterns will also include the first ever live-action rendition of John Stewart, and him possibly becoming the main Green Lantern of the DCU going forward. So yeah, no pressure at all. They better not disappoint, because they're not gonna hear the end of it from Green Lantern fans if this show turns out to be a stinker. I'm putting a lot of faith in y'all boys at DC, so you gotta deliver.
Don't make me regret this, or you will.
It's crazy to think about how Superman is the first time we've seen any Green Lantern do anything of significance in a live-action theatrical movie since 2011. Obviously not including that one nameless Green Lantern who showed up for like 2 seconds and died in Justice League. Things are sort of already off to a good start with the positive reception to Nathan Fillion's performance as Guy Gardner, shutting down any skepticism some might have had prior to the movie's release. And he's set to appear in Lanterns for an unspecified amount of time. Now, a lot of the skepticism I've seen surrounding this show relates to the character of Hal Jordan and the direction the creatives are going in. We don't yet know how old Hal Jordan will be, or whether he'll be around 59 to 60 years old like Kyle Chandler, the actor playing him in the DCU, but I imagine he won't be too far off given that John Stewart is set to replace him as he approaches retirement. Apparently Hal and John have been training together for a few months, with Hal serving as a substitute teacher to John. The story takes place in a couple of different time periods and will include flashbacks to younger versions of John, his parents, and Hal. So alongside seeing a child Hal Jordan, we could also see a version of him in his prime, and possibly how he earned the title of Lantern Legend in this universe. The showrunner Chris Mundy says Lanterns in a lot of ways is about replacement, when someone should step aside to let the next person take the reins. Pretty much everything I've heard about this show tells me that Hal Jordan is not in it for the long run in this universe. From statements about the show from the showrunner, to Kyle Chandler being the oldest cast member to play a prominent hero in the DCU so far, as well as his contract not including a movie beyond Lanterns. If that remains true, homie is either getting murked or will retire by the end of the season. I guess it's not totally out of the realm of possibility that they intend on using Hal in future stories despite Kyle Chandler's age, but that seems unlikely given the age range of actors who are playing characters set to appear in future installments like David Cornsweet, Milly Alcock, Isabella Merced, etc. The oldest actor from the Superman cast is still technically younger than Chandler. Pretty much all of the actors playing metahumans minus Nathan Fillion in Superman are younger than 50. All of this doesn't mean that the character will be poorly written or not handled with care in the context of the show. I think it's a bit presumptuous for people to go, oh, they're gonna ruin Hal Jordan just because the actor is older than one might have anticipated, or that the show's writing is going to be bad in general. I mean, we don't even have a teaser trailer or anything concrete to actually complain about on a grand scale. One thing I'll admit, that would be generational booty cheeks is if they decide to just take Hal Jordan stories and give them to John Stewart in the DCU. That's just asinine, because it would just question the purpose of highlighting one character if you were just gonna have him either adopt the personality traits of another or derive off the other stories instead of adapting what they already have from the source material. It'd be completely pointless to retire Hal Jordan if they go that route. If it were up to me, I would definitely make Hal a prominent figure of the DCU, relative in age to Superman and the rest of the frontrunners of the universe. I like the idea of a John Stewart and Hal Jordan centric narrative. In a larger Green Lantern saga, I'd have Hal take the lead while John becomes more associated with the Justice League, allowing them to serve two distinct roles within the wider world. But I'm hoping they can still give justice to the character and tell a compelling story. One of the more intriguing tidbits from what we know so far is the detective elements that's said to be inspired by the show True Detective. So much so that the showrunner of Lanterns, Chris Mundy, was a writer on True Detective, and stated that the series will be as much of a buddy cop show as it is a superhero one. I think that could make for an interesting narrative of unraveling the greater mystery in an episodic format, while also learning more and more about the circumstances of Hal and John, who they are as characters, what makes them tick, why they do what they do, and demonstrating what the DCU is capable of when different creators are allowed to tell stories in the ways they see fit. This, along with Supergirl, will hopefully set the stage for audiences to embrace these projects as distinct and tonally different, even though they exist within a shared universe. Given the age disparity and the central focus of a buddy cop narrative, Hal and John tend to butt heads in this iteration, and the creatives are really striving to signify the differences between the two. According to the showrunner, Hal is the more old school Air Force man as opposed to a more calm and collected John Stewart, who represents a new generation. These differences will also be shown through their constructs and how they go about combat. John Stewart was a Marine sniper before becoming an architect. He's as much of an artist as he is a Marine, and his constructs are more based in creativity. His original comic origins only included him becoming an architect prior to getting a Green Lantern ring, but the main comics decided to incorporate the Marine background, as well as him being an architect after Justice League Unlimited introduced the concept of John being an ex-Marine.
Still in uniform, I see. Though it's not exactly standard Marine Corps issue.
I signed up with a new unit.
His experiences led to his constructs being described as never hollow. He builds them from the inside out, down to every nut and bolt. The one thing myself and many fans are wondering is what the suits are going to look like. Are they going to be more practical, visual effects heavy? Does each lantern have a very distinct design? That could very much be the case if Guy Gardner's design is of any indication, since he's not rocking traditional Green Lantern attire and sports the Lord Tech sponsored uniforms alongside the Justice Gang.
We are also of the cloth.
Of the cloth?
There's been some speculation of them using Green Lantern Earth 1 inspired suits. I'm kinda hoping that isn't the case, as I would prefer the DCU to embrace the more vibrant aesthetic with the heavy hitters, akin to the designs for Superman and Supergirl, but if that's not the case, it won't be a deal breaker or anything. The Green Lantern mythos remains one of the most untapped avenues of the wider DC universe that audiences just haven't been able to experience in a tangible medium outside of animation. If the IP were large enough, you could honestly create an entire universe just centered on the different lantern spectrums, as you have decades worth of material to pick and choose from. We know we're gonna see other characters and villains in lanterns like Sinestro and possibly even Atrocitus through a character named Anton, whose background is very similar to Atrocitus. So many are speculating that it could just be a codename for that character. Just like any other DCU project, I'm hoping for the best, because we're not gonna hear the end of it if this show turns out to be a bomb.